Hello, everyone. This is Sean Smith, and you are tuned in to the Country Fried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. The podcast that will connect you to resources regionally and nationwide to engage them and you in open, honest discussions so that we can inspire the growth that you need to chase the experience you want. So strap yourself in because here we go. Hello, everyone. This is Sean Smith, your host of the Country Fried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. It is Sunday, February 16th. Valentine's Day has come and gone. Hope you gentlemen and ladies remembered it to make sure you got something for your special someone. Doesn't have to be elaborate, but you got something to let them know that you were thinking about them on that date. And I also hope that you guys made good decisions, because there's a meme going around that in 9 months you could be chasing rutting bucks or changing diapers. The decision is yours. So make good decisions on Valentine's Day, people. Anyways, with that said, Valentine's Day is come and gone. Today is February 16th. It is Sunday. President's Day is tomorrow. So some of you have some days off because of the holiday. Some of you have to work it. But hopefully if you work it, you're making that time and a half to compensate you for working on the holiday. Anyways, I'm sitting here back at the studio, and this episode is going to be pretty quick. It is a kind of a special prequel to introduce you guys to what is upcoming on the podcast. Several months ago, Jim Williamson of the Buckeye Big Buck Club got a hold of me and invited me to bring the podcast to the Buckeye Big Buck Club Banquet in Ashland. They hold this every year, and what it's for is everyone who got their deer scored in the previous calendar year. So this year was 2025, the banquet. So everyone who had their deer scored in 2024 was going to get inducted into the Buckeye Big Buck Club. So what they do is they bring everybody in, everyone who can make it, or everyone who actually wants to join the club, and they announce their names, they get a certificate, and they hand out some other awards, and also they do a lot of door prizes. Great event. I was there all day, and it is an all-day event, and it's just a good atmosphere for someone if you've not been to it. Or if you have the opportunity to shoot a qualifying buck, I recommend you pay a little bit extra and get yourself into the club. We had a episode with Jim Williamson earlier in the podcast that he kind of explained a little bit of the process. So go back and listen to that one, and it'll give you a little bit of that process of how you get entered into it. But just a quick refresher, a qualifying buck is anything that is over 140-inch typical or 160-inch non-typical. So you have to shoot, obviously you have to shoot the buck fair. Chase has to be legal, and it has to be scored by one of the official scorers of the Buckeye Big Buck Club. But as I was saying, Jim, who obviously had been on the podcast before, had reached out to me through a mutual friend and asked that I bring the podcast to the Buckeye Big Buck Club, because he's seen the value, and not necessarily just because of my podcast. Like, this isn't about me. This is about the club, obviously, but he recognized the value of reaching out to alternative media sources to get the word out about the club, to help in the recruitment of hunters, recruitment of new members, maybe some retention of some of the members that are there, and also, of course, the reactivation of some of the members who have been out of it. So I, of course, humbled by the request, as you're going to hear in one of the episodes coming up, is they usually don't bring outside people in. Like, there's a very select few people that get to come there, because to them, it's about the members. It's about the people coming into the club. So they don't want to make it about new vendors. They don't make it about this product or that product. And they pretty much just said, hey, listen, this is because of we believe in what you're doing and you believe in what we're doing. and we want you here. And I'm like, I'm humbled by this. And so, of course, I'm going to take up this opportunity, or let me rephrase that. I'm going to take the advantage of this opportunity and take the podcast there and record live, pretty much like we did at the antler scoring event at the Northeast Outdoors back in March, where I wasn't the first time I met Jim, but it was the first time that Jim and I sat down, actually talked to one another. So the Buckeye Big Buck Club annual banquet for 2025 was held on February 8th. I packed up the podcast gear along with some new headphones, some new broadcasting headphones, and off I went to get set up. And it was an amazing time. There are several interviews that are going to be coming your guys' way, and I want to give you a breakdown of those here in a minute. But I just wanted to kind of introduce you guys to what's coming up. And of course, understand that all these are recorded live on site. So there's going to be background noises. The audio is going to be a little bit different than how it would be for studio. I don't feel like I need to explain this, but at the same time, I'm like, maybe just give them a little bit of heads up that there's going to be background noises. The audio isn't going to be perfect. What is more important is the message that each and every individual is presenting. And I met some really, really great people at this banquet. Now, I don't know all the members of the Buckeye Big Buck Club. I know a couple. I know Will. He scored a couple deer for me before. Actually, he scored my one deer that was 1/8 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch away from making it into the Buckeye Big Buck Club. 1/8. And I don't know if we could have found that 1/8 somewhere on that deer, but I trust Will because he's a head scorer. He's the man. And so I know Will, I know Jim, I know a couple of the other ones because they were there at the banquet. But at this banquet, I got to meet the other members of the Buckeye Big Buck Club, or at least the board members. So at this banquet, I was able to sit down with two of the board members, J.R. Tucker and Joe Bouch. And they sat down and we had a really good conversation about the Buckeye Big Buck Club, kind of the meaning and what it means to them to be a part of it, the chase of a qualifying buck to get into it, and of course the conservation efforts of not only what they're doing, but also what their partnership with the Ohio Division of Wildlife is doing. And also that the need to recruit more members or more hunters into the field. Their episode is going to be the first one you hear. So that's going to be episode 1 of the live recordings. The next episode that you're going to get is I sat down with a young lady. Her name is Tricia Lucius. I sat down with her husband, Brian, and her brother, Mike Daring. And they shared the story of Tricia's 204-inch monster buck that she shot up in Wyandotte County. Now, what you need to know, and we'll make sure that in the episode, but what you need to know that for this year, for this banquet, for these inductees, she was the number 1 female entry. So of all the ladies who had entries, she was number 1 with 204 and some change. And she was also the number 2 crossbow entry for this year. Number 1 was Tom Stahl, which you got to hear that story. Our buddy Tom Stahl, who we got the interview with at the antler scoring event in March at the Northeast Outdoors. He was the number 1 crossbow and the biggest non-typical of the year at 209. So Tom, if you're listening to this and if your family is listening to this, congratulations, buddy. We got to talk a little bit at the banquet, but congratulations to you and getting number 1 there. But this is about Tricia. She's number 2 biggest deer to be brought in with a crossbow. And she's also number 1 of the female entries. So we'll get to hear that story. A little bit of a spoiler alert. It's her second buck ever. Fellas, ladies, who's been chasing deer your entire life. Can you imagine that? A 200+ inch deer as your second buck. USA, right? It's all right. But It's a great story. That's episode 2. So make sure you check that out. Following that up is where I was set up at in the hall, in the banquet hall where this was held at, which shout out to Ashland University for hosting this, and also the staff that you bring to this event, because it was spot on. I appreciate all the help you guys gave. They were on it. They made sure I had a table. They made sure that I had a tablecloth. They were just on top of it and just make sure everything was taken care of. And also the handling, the catering of the food, running the drink, the beverages. It was just a great experience. So Ashland University, thank you so much for what you guys do for the Buckeye Big Buck Club. They had nothing but praise. You know, Jim gave you nothing but praise prior to, but amazing venue, and also amazing service. And you guys earned a kudos on that one. So thank you so much for what you guys do, especially for conservation. I should say, especially what you do for supporting conservation and the Buckeye Big Buck Club, because you help make that event what it is. Anyways, so the next interview you're going to hear is, so where I was set up at, right next to me, someone brought in a pedestal type mount, right? And at first they brought 2 deer in, 2 bucks, put it on there. Like, oh, that's cool. Well, all of a sudden 2 more came in. And, as I had time to kind of look around, I noticed that there was, they brought in cards, and on the cards, they had the name of the hunter and the score of the deer. And I was looking through the cards. I noticed that each one of them had the last name of Twig. Well, that's interesting. And they were all shot in the same year. Come to find out, there was a family there, mom, dad, son, and daughter, who had an amazing year, because mom and dad shot qualifying bucks into the Buckeye Big Buck Club, and their children, son and daughter, shot deer that were so close, just so close, all in the same year. 130s plus for all the deer. And of course, the qualifiers, were above the 140 or 160 mark to get in. I sat down with them, the whole family, to kind of tell their story about that amazing year for them and the hunts that led up to them harvesting each one of those deer. That's going to be episode number 3 for you. So make sure you stay tuned for that. The next episode you're going to hear is, I had probably one of the most high profile guests I've had. Actually, let me rephrase that. The most high profile guest that I've had on the podcast so far. And that is the director of the Division of Wildlife, Kendra Wecker. Kendrick sat down with me, and this is all because of Jim Williamson. So Jim, I owe you a big thanks. But she sat down with me, and we spent about a half hour to 45 minutes talking about the Division of Wildlife, where they are today, where they were, and where she would like to leave them when her tour is done. In between that, there's a lot of great things that the Division of Wildlife is doing. And one of the big things that I want to highlight, at least in this part of our episode here, or this episode, is the new program that they've instituted, which is a land access program for hunters. And what it does is they go out and they find landowners, and there's a little money exchange to the landowners to allow access onto their properties for hunters. And to gain access is, obviously you would want to have the ODNR app or the Division of Wildlife app, the Ohio Hunt Fish app, on your phone. You could also apply online to get involved in this. But what they do is they break it down 1 hunter per 50 acres. And it's a great program because Ohio, we've said this before, I'm going to say it again. Ohio is an opportunity state. Like, there's a lot of opportunity for you to come and shoot deer in Ohio. There's no draw. It's all over the counter. The problem Ohio has is access. Most of Ohio is private land. And I'm not going to get into debate about leasing. I'm not going to get into debate about out-of-state landowners. I'm not going to get in these hot button topics. I'm just simply going to put it as Ohio has an access problem. And we also, I how do I say this without making it sound too negative? We also have a population problem with deer. It's not a problem that, we need to take drastic measures for, but it's to the point that ODNR, it wants us to shoot more deer. That's great. However, if your only access is public land, the total number of deer that you can shoot is 2. Because you can only shoot 1 antlerless deer off of public land and 1 antlered deer off of public land. That's it. The bag limit is 6 throughout the entire state. And it goes county by county. Each county has their own separate bag limit. So you're going to have to bounce back and forth to a couple of different counties to actually hit the total state bag limit of 6. But if you only hunt public land, it's 2. That's it. That's all you can shoot. So you're going to need access to private land to be able to get above 2 deer. And this program is a way to allow hunters to access private land through a cooperation and partnership with landowners. And I really recommend anybody listening to this that you share this with landowners that you know, or if you're a landowner and you have a deer problem, maybe this is something to sign up for, because ODNR, the Division of Wildlife, will let you know who is hunting your land, because people have to sign up for it and have to kind of check it out daily. But I encourage you to check it out online through the app and make sure that you understand the rules and how this works. If you always, if you have questions, reach out to the Division of Wildlife. They'll be happy to answer your questions. But back to Kendra, we sat down, and that was one of the big things she was talking about, along with several other things that the Division of Wildlife is doing and what they're trying to accomplish. At the end of the day, you have to remember, Division of Wildlife's mission is about conservation of our natural resources, and their perspective and their small little niche window, it's the wildlife. That's both game and non-game species. So that's a big ask. And that was an amazing interview with Kendra. That's going to be episode number 4 for you guys. Yes, episode number 4 from this. And the capstone of this whole live interviews from the Buckeye Big Buck Club is going to be an interview with a very special young man, a 6-year-old by the name of Brantley, who shot his first qualifying deer with his dad, Travis. And that'll be our capstone to this 5-episode series. So make sure that you guys follow us on the podcast platform that you listen in on. Share it with your friends, your family, and please leave us a review. But anyways, that is upcoming for you guys. And like I said, it's going to take probably a couple of months to finish all of them because of the bi-weekly release schedule. This one's going to come out a week. There's only going to be a week time lapse that kind of happens between an episode that co-host Sam and I recorded. And this will be this one. And then we're going to dive right into the episode with Joe and JR. And then it's going to be straight through after that. So stay tuned. Make sure you follow the show so you don't miss out on any of those episodes as they release. And reach out to the Buckeye Big Buck Club. Follow their website, buckeyebigbuckclub.org, or get on the Division of Wildlife's website and reach out to them. Follow them on Instagram, whatever it is. Reach out to them on the social medias, through the website, through the contact pages, whatever it is. I'll let them know that you heard them on a podcast and you heard them on the Chasing Your Experience podcast and that you'd like to become involved. At the end of the day, every sportsman and woman in the state were about it for the same reasons. And ultimately, we're here for the conservation of the wildlife that we love, the wildlife that we pursued, and the wildlife that we see when we go out afield. Let them know that you're here to support that cause and whatever you can do to help. But right now, it's Sunday. I'm sitting back enjoying a little bit of bourbon and just kind of sitting here setting my thoughts on this introduction into the live episodes. Tomorrow is President's Day. Like I said earlier, some of you are going to have the day off. Some of you are going to have to work. Hopefully you're making that extra money because you got to work the holiday. But for me, I'll be taking my son out for his first coyote hunt. I got to say, I'm not a prolific coyote hunter myself. I've been out a couple times, seen one. So this is kind of more of a me and the boy getting out to do a little bit of hunting now since deer season has come to a close, and to give him an opportunity to come out and get to shoot his rifle a little bit. Like I said, I'm not very versed in the whole predator hunting world or the fur world or any of that. But, Spotify, which is our platform host, they have a comment section that you can comment in, and you'll find this on YouTube. You can comment on YouTube as well. I'm not really sure how iHeart works. Apple, there's no comment section on the Apple podcast. There's a review where you can leave a review. But if you're listening to this on a platform like Spotify or YouTube where you can leave a comment below on what you guys recommend to do with a coyote in the event my son is successful. Do we skin it, tan it? What are some things that you recommend to do with it? Because I don't know. I hate to be that way, but what do you do? Like I said, I'm not very versed in it. So help us out with that. Leave us a little comment what we should do with it. And just comment in general what you think of the episode. Like I said, rate and review, subscribe and share, or follow and share, depending upon what platform you're is and what they call it. But I think that's going to do it for us. I think that's where we're going to leave this episode off. Once again, this is the introduction to the live episodes coming your way. Make sure you check them out. Don't miss out on any of them. They're all great. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to sit and listen to me babble about what's coming in the near future for Country Fried Outdoors and the Chasing Your Experience podcast. I really like doing these live episodes, especially with the Buckeye Big Buck Club, because they're just a lot of fun. And just that atmosphere alone is amazing to kind of sit and see the connection that the event like that has. Whether it was a regional or the local scoring event that I went to, now the statewide, banquet, the atmosphere is always the same. Everyone's there to support the next person. It's an amazing time. And there's something that was said at the banquet that really resonates, or I should say that really resonated with me. And even though, you start off at 140 inch and there's a couple of 200 inch deer there, right? One of the board members, probably about halfway through the presentations of the certificates, he kind of, looked at the crowd and took the mic and said, "Hey, listen, look at all the deer on the wall here." And he's talking from the 140, the just qualified, to the ones that are number one for the year. He said, "Look at them. Every single one of these deer, put in any other circumstance, would be a world-class deer in that area." He's really hitting upon the quality of deer that Ohio is producing and the quality of deer that it takes to get into the club. And I got to say, if you remember, if you've got that qualifier or you got multiple qualifiers, congratulations, man. You earned it. You earned it. Because as you're going to learn in the first episode, this is one of those clubs you don't buy your way into. It's not. You have to earn your entry. Some people are lucky that the second buck they ever shoot gets them qualified into the club. And then some of us have been chasing it for 30 plus years. And some of us may never hit it. I'll tell you this. They have an award for the oldest entry, for the oldest person to have their first qualifying deer. And this gentleman was 80 some years old. I think he was like 82. Shot his first qualifying deer at 82. So if you have a qualifying deer, congratulations. You've accomplished quite a feat. But that's enough of me rambling. You need to come and check these episodes out. You're going to love them. Like I said earlier, ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate you taking time out of your day to sit and listen to me ramble about the upcoming events or the upcoming episodes. And I really do encourage you to follow the show and check those out as they start to populate and publish. It's going to be about 2 months before all of them get out, and they're going to start. Like I said, this is February 16th. So they're going to start in March. So about March 3rd is when the first one's going to drop, and every 2 weeks from that, the next episode. So you're kind of looking at about a 10-week period for all these episodes to drop at 5 episodes. But I do appreciate you guys taking time of your day to listen to this. I know your time is very valuable to you. It's very valuable to everyone. And we do not take it lightly that you took that time or that you spent that time with us. We definitely don't take that lightly, and we truly do appreciate it. All we ask is that you take just a few more moments to give us a rating and review on the podcast platform that you're listening to this podcast on, and that you share it with your friends. Help us get the word out. But I think it's time for us to close this thing out. And this is my message to the listeners. As you guys are out there chasing the experience that you want, may you have the courage to fail, yet have the humility to learn. And until our experiences cross paths again, we hope that you stay safe out there. And as always, God bless you. Thank you for listening to the Country Fried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. Before you go, don't forget to leave us a review and follow the show on the podcast platform of your choice. Are you hungry for more Country Fried Outdoors? Then follow us on Instagram at Country Fried Outdoors, or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Country Fried Outdoor Productions.